Well, this is Paul from RankWyz, and this video is a result of the test case I ran checking how different type of content affecting the indexing rate of Web2 networks. I set up the test case. I set up a project, and inside the project, several networks that have some of the settings are similar throughout all networks, while the content posted was different. As I said, the goal of the test case was to see how to maximize indexing rate for Web2 network. And of course, indexing is probably one of the major concern our users and overall everyone who does SEO has and who deals with the Web2 blogs. And there's a general perception that it is extremely hard to index Web2 networks, and as a result, the effectiveness of those networks are extremely low. I set up within a project 3 networks. Each network had 200 new fresh Web2 blogs accounts in. And the similarity throughout all networks were that they all have bulk indexing enabled, they have traffic simulation enabled, and they all have a multi-tier backlinking set up. So without going in details on our features, so RankWyz has integration with multiple bulk indexing services, and unless you have some concern, it's always recommended to enable bulk indexing. And if you have your own accounts, you can also add more power to bulk indexing. Traffic simulation is a feature that has RankWyz built in, and especially it's powerful when it goes through with multi-tier backlinking automatically without setting up campaign. You just enable the traffic simulation, and bots using thousands of proxies, visiting page, staying on the page, click on several links and navigating up to the higher tier links, so basically simulating traffic. Not only it helps with the latest changes Google implemented and more enabling using RankBrain that involves of measuring users' activity on the site. But it also helps with Web2 accounts, Web2 sites, because of course, when they measure which blogs are worth keeping and ones that needs to be suspended, of course the traffic is a factor that speaking towards the quality of the blog. And I use multi-tier backlinking, so I'm a firm believer in multi-tier backlinking. So it's stacking the relevant content, relevant links, and multiplying this, and should like as I said, all 3 had multi-tier backlinking, and I'm pretty sure that if I would have one network with no backlinking at all, no matter what content I will post, it will have the lowest indexing rate. So while the previous settings I mentioned that were similar to all networks, content was different. The one network used Article Builder as a popular service that produced relatively readable and good-looking content on dozens and dozens of niches, so that it creates somewhat relevant content. And for the second network, I use manual articles that were ultra spun using very popular one of the very popular top spinning services. And for the last, I used our built-in content mill with multiple topics. So exact setup was the network 1, tier 1 had 200 new Web2 blogs, and I posted article builder content For tier 2, I use shared network, and every tier 1 post backlink 3 times in shared network. So let's say if I did one post on every block, it will be 200. Let's say if they're all successful. So although not all that were successful, it will be creating 200 posts on first tier and 600 posts on the second tier. So every post automatically backlink 3 times on shared network. I selected somewhat relevant, like as relevant as possible niche in article builder and the shared network niche to make sure that there is a relevancy. For the second network, I used 200 new Web2 blogs, and I ordered manual content and ultra-spawned with the spinning service. For the second tier, I use shared network, and exact same. Every tier 1 post was backlinked 3 times in shared network. And for the last network, I used 200 new Web2 blogs. So I used content mill with the multiple topics. I kind of always confirm that I always emphasize multiple topics is because and I probably will cover it. I will cover it in a different video. That the more specific content is, the higher chance is to be indexed compared to generic content. So let's say if you do a dental, so emergency dental clinic, the content that is targeting emergency dental clinic in Markham town north of Toronto will have a higher chance to get indexed compared to dental clinic content, but I will leave it for a separate video. And I used 600 Web2 blogs, so I didn't use shared network. I used 600 Web2 blogs for the second tier, and I used same content bucket. So essentially creating content relevancy stack, and the idea I explained in another video. Creating multiple topics. Let's say dentist in Markham will create a very laser targeted content, and using content relevancy stacking. The second tier was using exactly the same topics, and we're creating very relevant stacked content that, in my opinion, help to improve indexing. So this is the content. This is the project generic versus content mill. This is how I called it. And if I go and set up, you'll see that there's a network for article builder. There's a network for spoon content. There's a network for content mill. As I said, the content mill based network used own network, and this is would be Web2 tier 3. The article builder and spoon were using shared networks. So going to every network, put on them in a separate tab. So article builder network, you see that well, it's worth mentioning so that everything was done. This is the day when it was done. It was today is July 16th, and everything was done June 23rd and 24th within 2 days. And after that, I didn't do anything. I just let those networks stay and for 3 weeks letting Google index the index blogs. So you can see that there are like total 781 indexed URLs. That is impressive results. So of course, if I use those results, it proves that you can rank Web2, you can index Web2 network without the problem if you use bulk indexing services, if you enable traffic simulation, and if you use a multiple tier setup. And if I go to blogs, You can see that, let's say if I roll over of the numbers, you can see that for example, this one, some of them are just recently indexed, some of them already have a history of indexing, and a lot of blogs are still not indexed, or indexing is low. Of course, moving forward, the more blogs will be indexed, and indexing overall will improve. Spawn content has the lowest indexing results, and only 158 URLs were indexed. If I go to content mill based network, the results are even more impressive. You see that within 3 weeks, as I said, like 3 weeks ago, I made several posts on 200 blogs. They all were backlinked, and we're using this specific case. They were using content mill. There are, at this moment, there are over 2,000 indexed URLs. So it's very impressive results and very impressive indexing. So, well, let's check content mill, how it was set up. So this is the content bucket I've used, and this is mixed content sources. If I go to content blocks, you'll see that I use image syndicated news, video syndicated news. I tested it over and over again, and the embedded news or social blog improves indexing. So I believe that newsworthy content, that the content that were trending, the currently trending embedding with the attribution link, like I always use attribution link, not only adds content that is currently trending, which is kind of mimic what how the content is distributed over the net, but it also automatically adds authority links to the currently trending sites and the Google News. I use media, I use image optimization, and if I'll go to topics, you can see that I use multiple topic lists. One is for the all different type of diets: paleo diet, caveman diet, low carb diet, and another is variation, weight loss recipe, cookbook, diabetes. So essentially we'll create, let's say, diabetes diet recipes, or protein diet cookbook. So if I'll go to content, you'll see that articles created using two different topics, let's say paleo diet cookbook. So image for paleo diet. So you see that keywords are both topics presented in the title. Media, links, so all set up, and you can see at the bottom, so the topics were used, diabetic diet and cookbook. And also it's again, I will just reiterate again, so not only I use content custom content for the bucket, I used content relevancy stacking, using the same content, using the same topics for the second tier. So it creates, as I said, relevancy of backlinking article that is built from vegan diet, diabetes, would be backlinked using exact same topics. And quickly the summary of test case. To get good results with indexing of your Web2 networks, and this is the first step to have overall success with the SEO based on using Web2. Um, use bulk indexing services. They are relatively cheap compared to the number of links they allowed every day. And RankWyz has several services built in, so you don't need to have your own accounts. But if you do, so it will help even more. So you can add your own accounts on the top of the ones provided with RankWyz. You can optionally use GSA or similar bulk link building tools to create more links pointing to your Web2 networks. You can run your own instance or order blasts from sites like Fiverr. They are relatively cheap. I didn't use GSA or any other outside third-party services or tools for this specific test case, but of course, the more links you have, the more chances to have all blogs or all posts indexed. I use traffic simulation. I already explained briefly how it works. And as I said, so the advantage of our implementation comparing to other services is not that we do it somewhat fancier than other services. After all, the visit is a visit. It mimics the visitor, and of course the variety depends of the how many locations or unique IPs service has. But the main advantage of our setup is that we have a data, so you don't need to provide any links, feeds, or anything. So you build links with RankWyz, you automatically send them for traffic simulation. Not only our bots visit pages, but it also go to the higher tier if it is a multi-tier setup. Multi-tier setup, this is the next step. As I said, so very, very, very important. If you create one tier posts, you probably will be disappointed seeing the very low indexing rate for your Web2 blogs. And I put an exclamation, so using content relevancy stacking, so as relevant as possible content for a multi-tier setup. Next, use specialized content. Specialized content meaning the more targeted content for some specific niche or content or keyword, the better chance it to be indexed. As I said, so I have tested and I've seen that content that is targeted, very optimized for niche keywords will have a higher indexing rate than generic that you will have, let's say, if for dentist. When I tested article builder versus spoon content versus content mill, it's not that content mill produces somewhat magic content that is getting indexed. It has more flexibility for you to customize it to create very targeted content. Even if you don't really need it to be very specific, let's say best chiropractor practitioner in town, so it's still just for the sake of getting indexed higher, so you can use more optimized topics or more optimized content compared to the generic content. With the content include relevant media, optimized images. When I mean optimize, you can use optimize alt tags. You can put titles, use your keywords in image titles. Include authority links and snippets of trending content, news and social. Content mill does it automatically, and once you select it, let's say news content block, it will be rescraped regularly and continuously build a new relevant content that is taken from Google News and Bing News feeds. uh, you notice that the most common recommendation a lot of courses or people who teach have is to make sure that content is unique. I don't have this um, I don't have it, and I don't think it is really that matters how unique the content. As well, I don't have I don't believe that the only content that it just saves you is your manually ordered content. Of course, if you do it on the site where you expect real visitors and you want conversions or um, any other form of engagement, so you don't need to manual content. But otherwise, technical content, automatic content works as well or even better in many cases when you need indexing and ranking your PBNs and Web2 blog networks. Thank you for watching and thank you for using RankWyz.